In high school, I fell in love early. My girlfriend is the best student in the class. Because of this, I was abandoned by many classmates and all subject teachers. Everyone said I was affecting her future. The homeroom teacher even called me aside to talk privately many times. He even didn't hesitate to spend money to take me out to dinner and tell me his feelings about his life. In short, there's only one sentence: if you really like her, you should try for her. At this age, breaking up is the best thing for both of you. I could feel the sincerity in the homeroom teacher's words. After returning home, I proposed to break up, but she did not agree. The next week, at school, the homeroom teacher rearranged the seats. I was moved to the back of the class, and my girlfriend sat at the first desk. What's more important is that her new desk mate is my famous rival, Zhou Chen. His performance is very good in class, second only to my girlfriend. In the eyes of many people, they are truly a good match. As expected, he openly pursued my girlfriend. Even received approval from classmates and teachers. It's great, the homeroom teacher directly did it for him. All subject teachers, as scheduled, did not assign them to work together on wall newspapers, but also arranged for them to go to meetings together. Even on the night of the New Year celebration, the music teacher also paved the way for the two of them to sing together the song "Love Is in the Heart" as the ending performance of the program. During the preparation time, whenever they had free time, they would call each other to practice. After New Year, the two of them became famous, becoming a couple recognized by the whole school. But my girlfriend, Lu Nuyen, didn't notice this change. It's also unclear whether she really doesn't understand or pretends not to understand. As for me, I dream vaguely every day, living like a clown in the camera. Every time I enter the classroom, I feel like I have no place to be. The funniest thing is that Zhou Shen's birthday coincided with mine and I was completely unaware. Right on my birthday, after evening class, the class president asked everyone to stay. After that, a classmate turned off the lights and everyone sang happy birthday in unison. In that moment, my tears burst. Her face was hot, every inch of her skin felt like warm water was flowing through her. But when the lights turned on, all eyes were not directed towards me. Because those lyrics are not for me. Hot tears suddenly turned into cold ice and embarrassment. I quietly walked out, but the happy laughter inside still echoed far away. Since then, I started to really have low self-esteem, avoid crowds, don't like to talk, hate school, and am afraid of people. I skipped school, wandered, abandoned myself. Lu Yen also tried to find me many times, constantly calling and sending me long messages. She said that she felt strange about me recently, but didn't understand why I became like that. Oh my God, does she really not know why I became like this? A terrible feeling of loneliness came over me, making me feel like this whole world no longer had anything to do with me. I became a complete clown. It wasn't until a week later that my mother found me. When I saw her, I felt a little sad. These past few days, she must have been very tired. Hair is messy, eyes are dark, voice is hoarse. The homeroom teacher seemed to have caught my breath, saying that I had been absent from school for too long for no reason, so he wanted to expel me. When I heard the word expulsion, my mother was extremely scared. In her eyes, expulsion means no longer having the opportunity to study. So she suddenly knelt down, not caring that there were many people around, and begged the homeroom teacher to withdraw his decision. For the first time, I saw my arrogant mother bowing her head to beg others, clearly looking pitiful. I know it's not because she's no longer strong, but because her weakness has been held by someone else, and that weakness is me. Many people standing around laughed at me, pointed at me, said that I was worthy, unfilial, and had no regrets in death. Seeing that the homeroom teacher was unmoved, her mother ran to the car, caught several large live chickens, and stuffed them into the teacher's hands. This is a homegrown free-range chicken, very delicious. Try it. Please revoke your decision to expel the boy so he can continue to go to school. Even if you tell him to move his desk outside the classroom to listen to the lecture, that's fine. I promise he will be obedient. As a result, perhaps because the rope was not tied carefully, the chickens escaped and flew everywhere. More and more teachers and students stopped to chat. They all looked at me with cold eyes and a noble attitude. In the end, the homeroom teacher was afraid that the situation would become too serious, so he reluctantly agreed to my mother's request. I returned to that classroom, the place that brought me countless traumas. The place I wanted to run away from many times, but I couldn't help but return because of my mother. Even if I die, I have to die in the classroom. In anger, I rushed up to the podium, looked around at everyone, then bowed down to meet the person in front of the homeroom teacher. Tears flowed. I'm sorry for causing trouble to you. I'm sorry, teacher. It's my fault. Sorry. I bowed my head and apologized, tears falling drop by drop to the floor. I personally know that these are not only tears of regret and admission of mistakes, but also tears of self-pity and low self-esteem. Since then, even though Yen still did not agree to break up, he no longer communicated much with me in front of everyone. She both glared at me and avoided me. Although I can return to class every day during classes, I can only watch my girlfriend and her desk mate study together, cooperate well, and laugh happily. Especially during self-study hours, it's really a nightmare for me. I can only look at them, one reading to the other, then vice versa. After reading, they did not forget to exclaim, "Wow, you learn really fast." During evening classes, they also invited each other to discuss homework. The teachers not only did not stop them but also praised them, repeatedly praising them for creating a positive learning atmosphere for the whole class. They became more and more attached, more and more compatible, more and more dependent on each other. Teachers and classmates also increasingly accept this scene of harmony. It seems that falling in love early is good or bad depending on the person. I endured quietly, learning vocabulary, political economy, poetry, and history by myself. On weekends, Lu Nguyen will still walk with me and talk a lot. Sometimes she even brings books, says she'll read them to me, and then makes me read them to her. But every time she started, she mentioned Shinzhou. While talking, don't forget him. If you say 3 words, remind Zhoushan once. If you take 3 steps, call him once. Perhaps she never knew that my sensitive heart was full of wounds, and she was unintentionally sprinkling salt on each of those wounds. I was heartbroken but didn't say it or show any signs. On the outside, he remained calm, as if nothing was wrong. The more she talked about Chu then, the more calm I appeared. Sometimes they even respond with a few exclamations, "You two are really good." But remember, don't let it affect your studies. This ambiguous relationship lasted for a very long time. When I had almost adapted to this emotional state, one night, Lu Nguyen texted me, "Old saying, why did we end up like this?" I fell into thought. Yes, how did we end up like this? She continued, "Maybe many years later, when we look back, we will feel regret." Seeing the 2 words regret, my heart ached. It was like we both implicitly understood the ending of the story, but neither of us took the initiative to save the situation. Usually, such regrets, aren't they all created by humans? Thinking of this, I replied, "This don't no holiday, let's go out together." After that, I closed my eyes, recalling the memories of both of us. In the second semester of 10th grade, we became classmates because we both chose the social class. the social class was recently established. She stood out in the first exam, achieving top results in the class, thereby attracting the attention of subject teachers. The literature teacher once thought that Yen was very similar to her daughter. Over time, she even saw her as her daughter. The literature teacher has been divorced for many years. The only daughter and her husband went to settle abroad. It's been a long time since she's seen her child. While analyzing an essay in class, the teacher became emotional, remembered her daughter and talked about her. At that time, I felt that the teacher was a lonely and pitiful person. Lu Nuyen is an extremely quiet girl. Usually speaks very softly. Even when smiling, it's just like a flower blooming, not showing any teeth. The most interesting thing is, every time someone looks closely at her, she immediately blushes like a ripe apple. However, Lu, like Yen, is not a shy person. It's simply born like that. Therefore, I often tease her, making her change her expression. Coincidentally, these characteristics are identical to the literature teacher's daughter. Therefore, Nuyen is especially loved by her teacher. At first, we didn't have much interaction. Even though we've studied together for more than half a semester, we haven't even talked to each other a few words. It's just that I made friends with Yen on WeChat through the class group. Occasionally glance at the moment and then relax. One time, I saw her post a skating video and accidentally commented, "Oh, I want to learn so much, please teach me." Unexpectedly, these words caused two unrelated lives to intertwine. Before long, she proactively asked me if I wanted to go ice skating. With excitement, I followed her into the skating rink. At first I thought it would be easy, but I was too confident in myself. My nature of not giving up caused me to fall nearly 100 times that day. After stopping to rest, I sat and looked like Yen skating. She wore a long white dress, moving on the field gently, naturally, competently, and relaxed. Her long hair fluttered, as if she was walking on the clouds in a heavenly palace. Suddenly, I remembered a sentence: when quiet, like a flower hugging the water, when moving, like a soft willow swaying in the wind. It seemed like it was describing her. A strange feeling began to creep into my heart. At that moment, Nuyen suddenly came in front of me, reaching out his hand as if to lead me around. I felt a bit discouraged and shook my head in refusal. She smiled softly and teased, "Don't worry, I'll protect you." Who would have thought that a quiet person like her would have such an interesting soul? I couldn't refuse anymore, so I reached out my hand and slowly stood up. Maybe I'm too sentimental, but this is the first time I've held hands with a girl. When I slipped, I was extremely careful, afraid that if I fell, I would pull her down with me. But the more you fear something, the more likely it is to happen. On the opposite side, someone slid back towards us. I immediately panicked, my legs lost control, causing my shoe to crash straight into her shoe in a dramatic and unbelievable way. She just fell on me. I don't know if two people fall in that position on the ice skating rink, but at that moment, my heart was throbbing and suddenly burned fiercely. I blankly looked at Yen's face from a very close distance, smelling the scent of her hair. Even her breath carries a special scent. Ah, is this the heart of a man in love? There was also a slight change on Yen's face, but she didn't seem to care about this at all. After leaving the skating rink, it was just time for dinner. I casually asked her if she wanted to go eat with me and she happily agreed. This is the first time we have dinner together. Both spoke little, but felt comfortable and natural, without any awkwardness or shyness. She didn't eat egg yolks, so she asked me if I did. I nodded, yes. Nuyen used a fork to skewer it and bring it to my mouth. This action made me laugh. "Are you feeding me?" She also smiled, her smile as bright as a blooming flower. Whatever you think is how it is. From that moment on, I was completely immersed in this sweet love. After dinner, I suggest going for a walk in the park. She also happily agreed. The park was unusually quiet at night, the breeze gently passing under the soft yellow street lights. The two long shadows naturally held each other's hands. The park was only that big, but we kept circling it over and over again, as if we were greedily demanding something from fate. After returning, I really wanted to confess my love to Nguyen, but thinking back, it was too sudden. Everything happened so fast. That day I tossed and turned all night, unable to sleep. When we returned to school, we returned to the strange state we were in before. No one in the class noticed any difference, nor did anyone expect that two people who had little interaction would have such a short and precious memory. 2 weeks later, I finally couldn't hold it in anymore. After much hesitation, I composed a message to Nguyen. It was you who made me believe that love does not need time to cultivate, it is simply a meeting between two souls. Before our first meeting, we met countless times in our dreams. I waited a long time. Finally the phone rang. She replied, amidst the flow of time spanning billions of years, our short lives pass like a blink of an eye. But even so, my years can still become long and lovely because of you. Just like that, we were together, gently as if nothing, but just like everything should be. We went to the movies together on the weekends, climbed the boat to the bookstore, made tea, read books, went to the beach to listen to the wind and wait for the moon to rise, walked to the mountains to see flowers, climbed to the rooftop of the building to touch the clouds, went to the river to quietly watch fish swimming. The happiness of first love spreads in our simple life. But soon, our story was spread out. I thought I would receive blessings, but unexpectedly I would receive countless malicious words from my classmates. That day, after gym class, we went to the cafeteria to eat together. Not yet? I whispered softly to her, my dear. When I was playing soccer, she was bewildered. What happened? I scratched my head shyly and blurted out one sentence, my pants are torn. She was stunned for a moment, then burst out laughing. I bowed my head in shame and whispered, but let's eat first. I don't want you to be hungry. Please help me get food today. I'll find a corner to sit in first, like always. Nguyen happily agreed. That's all, a small matter that doesn't matter. But when it reached the ears of everyone in the class, it became a hot topic of discussion. He's really worthless. Who would let their daughter line up to get food while they sit and wait to eat? When did you guys know? That guy is so miserable, he always forces Lu Nguyen to do his homework for him and wash the rice tray. I heard that he grew up in a single-parent family and has a very strange personality. I have investigated thoroughly. His father is also not a good person. I left my family a long time ago and went out to build a new home. I also heard that in middle school, he dated a girl and wanted to do it, but she didn't agree, so he slapped her, and then was forced to transfer schools to us. Rumors spread and changed in all sorts of ways, no one knows where they came from. But just like that, it spread and I became the one everyone pointed at. I still remember very clearly one time, when walking with Lu Nguyen on the street in school, we accidentally met a few classmates. They did not hide their distaste, threw disdainful eyes at me, and then said in a sarcastic voice, Lu Nguyen, you are as beautiful as a swan, but why did you choose a toad like this? Even many years later, every time I think back to that sentence, I still feel extremely painful. The teachers also believed the rumors, and always had a grudge against me in their hearts. My innate pride makes me not want to explain a word. From then on, I gradually distanced myself from the crowd like kitchen smoke dissolving into a sea of clouds. At this moment, My rival, Chu, then started to attack again. He openly brought breakfast to Lu Nuyen, without any hesitation, and took her back to the dormitory. He blatantly took advantage of the situation and blatantly took away the person I love. Lu Nuyen is not good at refusing others' kindness, and Chu Than's actions are becoming more and more obvious. Even received support from many teachers and friends. And just like that, the person who always appeared next to her, worried little by little, became him. Thinking about those things and then looking at the reality in front of me, tears flowed out of my eyes uncontrollably. The Lunar New Year has arrived very quickly. We arranged to go to the riverbank to watch the dragon boat race, meeting at the top of Vongjiang next to the bridge. Lu Nuyen arrived very early. At first I didn't understand why she went out so early. When I got there, I realized it was my rival who had stopped her. He accidentally learned about our date today, so he asked Lu Nuyen if he could let me go with him. "You two just have fun. I'll help you take pictures." Lu Nuyen was not good at refusing, so she agreed. Not only that, she also agreed to have breakfast with him before going to the meeting place. When I arrived, they were chatting happily and excitedly, as if I was the third person involved in this affair. I can't help but say that that day was the day I felt extremely humiliated, having to follow them and become their photographer. During summer vacation, Lu Nuyen found a part-time job at a milk tea shop. No matter how much I calculated, I didn't expect that the milk tea shop belonged to the literature teacher's younger brother. She introduced Lu Nuyen to the job, and also introduced Chu Than there. I also tried to apply for a job, but despite all my efforts, and even reciting prepared professional conversations, I still couldn't impress the store manager. Helplessness and sadness exhausted me. Having no other choice, I had to choose the second option, volunteering at the nursing home next to their milk tea shop. There's not much volunteer work, maybe because I'm still a student, so the institute doesn't assign heavy work. Every day, my job is just to chat with the elderly, play chess, make them happy, and listen to their feelings. To be honest, the experience of volunteering at this nursing home had a profound impact on me, allowing me to hear many honest and touching life stories, helping me understand that human life inherently has many arduous choices. More importantly, this time has trained me to be resilient, not to give in to fate, and aroused in me desire and reflection on human kindness. I think later in life, I easily felt happiness. Perhaps largely thanks to this period. Outside of work, I often go to the milk tea shop to visit them, help them share their work, and clean up. Actually, to put it mildly, I'm quite envious of them. Being together every day, experiencing sweet and bitter together. Summer vacation passed quickly, and we began to enter our stressful senior year again. Homeroom teachers and subject teachers cannot sit still anymore. Feeling that an important moment had come, as if facing a great enemy, they carefully prepared everything. The first is the literature teacher. She found my girlfriend and said, "How's it going? Are you still dating?" I don't interfere in your affairs, neither support nor oppose. But honestly, I really think you deserve better things. You know, for the past 2 years I've always assigned you to be the class representative. Do you know how much I care and love you? Once again, I want to emphasize to you that you should put your studies first. The college entrance exam is important. Most important. These words were all later. Lu Nuyen told me every sentence, every word. I have it all engraved in my heart. What happened next was even more absurd to isolate us. The homeroom teacher even arranged for Yin to study with her maternal uncle. She moved into the literature teacher's house near the school and was picked up by the teacher every day. This is a privilege that the entire class admires. Everyone felt like she was the school's idol, protected by many teachers to the point of being so shameless. In the second semester, history teachers also took action. My history subject is quite good, and this teacher is also the most patient with me among the subject teachers. He came to see me and talked a lot, but when he talked, he didn't dare look me in the eye. Old saying, "You're really smart." I realized it right from the first year of teaching your class. It's no wonder that Lu Nguyen is so fascinated by you. Today, I want to talk to you about love. You've been dating Lu Nguyen for 2 years, right? I guess you understand a little about love. I was a bit surprised, not knowing how to respond. Teacher, tell me a story. 20 years ago, there was a guy. I deeply love my girlfriend every day. He got up very early, walked through several streets just to buy a cup of warm soy milk for her. For her, he was willing to fight with other male classmates. During the holidays, he worked part-time, saving money to buy her a gift. When he went to college, he didn't mind traveling thousands of kilometers just to watch with her a movie. The long road was full of loneliness, but also full of happiness. The most impressive thing was that one night, while having dinner with his friends, he drank a delicious cup of taro milk tea, just hoping he could try it before she went to bed, so he drove into a ditch when he turned. He was so angry that he burst into tears just because the cup of taro milk tea was spilled. The history teacher blushed slightly, as if immersed in happy memories. Then another time, he bought a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Because he was too impatient to see his girlfriend's happy face when receiving flowers, he drove too fast and took a sharp turn. The bouquet of flowers on the passenger seat fell to the side because of inertia. In his haste, he grabbed it with his hand, causing his hand to be cut by a flower thorn, leaving many dark red scars. He was still so angry that he burst into tears because the bouquet was broken. The teacher stopped, as if he had countless emotions that could not be expressed in words. What I want to tell you is that every time I go to see my girlfriend, I give it my all. I can't delay, I'm so impatient that I count every second. At that time, I really thought that my whole life was only about her. For her, I poured out all my enthusiasm, purified all relationships, cut off all retreats, and only had one heart for her. Later, when we graduated from college, we also attended each other's graduation ceremonies. Everyone thought that she and I were going to get married. But a year after graduating, she passed the graduate school exam and completely gave up this 7-year relationship. I was heartbroken and suffocated, waiting under her dormitory for more than a month. Later I found out that in order to avoid meeting me, she stayed at her friend's house for a while. That period was probably the most painful time of my life. Not seeing any hope, but still foolishly holding on to all hope, and finally disappointment and despair. The teacher pushed his glasses back, wiped the corners of his eyes with his fingers, and choked up. In the end, she only texted me 6 words. Those 6 words were the last conversation between the two of them, until now. Sorry, I have to fly high. When the teacher said those 6 words, it was like trying to release a fish bone stuck in his throat, with great difficulty. She passed the graduate school exam and immediately abandoned me. Later, I also passed the graduate school exam, but that no longer meant anything to this love. Later, when I became a teacher, a husband, and a father, I understood the true meaning of love. It's for her to become better, even if the price is a breakup. Having finished speaking, the teacher bowed his head in silence. I heard the last sentences very clearly. It turned out that the teacher asked me, "What is love?" It's for me to understand that love is letting go. I made up my mind to be serious and told the teacher, "Teacher, I understand. In order not to affect her studies, this week I will definitely break up, decisively, without entanglement, without holding back." The teacher seemed to see something, his eyes flashed, he slowly raised his head, filled with comfort, but a bit awkward. After a long time, the teacher spoke up, "You still don't understand." I was surprised and full of questions, "So what is it?" The teacher bowed his head again, not looking at me. "Do you know about Lu Like Yen's family? She has 3 brothers and 3 sisters. Her father was nearly 60 when he gave birth to her. When she was young, Like Yen was taken away to be raised by someone else, and later found her own home. But the time she was given away caused a huge trauma. Therefore, we, the subject teachers, all paid special attention to her. When she returned home, Like Yen did not receive the love and care that she should have received. Yes. Nu Yen's siblings all think she shouldn't come back. Her parents also often scold her for being redundant in such a distorted family situation. Perhaps because Yen lacks love, we all see that. Perhaps her presence has filled the void in her heart, making her rely on her. Me or my relatives. Families like Yen don't care about her, even when she graduated from middle school, Not wanting her to continue going to school, Yen secretly worked part-time during the summer vacation to save money for tuition and went to high school on her own. Over the past 2 years, she has been very tired and very scared. She needs a feeling of safety and stability. Over the past 2 years, we have clearly seen that she is truly sincere with Yen. Actually, at first we were a little skeptical, but now it seems that you are really someone who can be trusted. I was extremely touched, and felt even more ashamed of the teachers. I couldn't help but burst into tears. The teacher patted my shoulder and continued to say, "What is the feeling of security and stability? Do you know?" I quickly asked, "What is it?" "College means passing the university entrance exam. Only when entering university and having a degree, can Yen have lifelong security, like my girlfriend before. She definitely left to pursue a sense of security. I say so much because I want you to understand that, as men, we can never use the name of love to prevent a girl from pursuing the safety of her life. That's important for a lifetime." The teacher's tone became more and more serious and more sincere. But I felt suffocated, as if hundreds of hands were squeezing my throat. I cautiously asked, "So what should I do?" The teacher lowered his voice, "We all know that Lu Nuyen can't leave you, she's the one who doesn't want to break up. We also know that this time you're determined to break up, but what's the use of doing that? That will only make Yen's studies more affected. Now, the only way to save the situation is for you to drop out of school, you're very good at studying." Talking all night, crying all night, it turned out he was trying to expel me from school. My heart was so cold that I trembled, my arms and legs kept twitching. So I don't need to feel safe? Don't I deserve to go to college? Don't I deserve to have a future? Why do you have to push me to the edge like that? The history teacher I respect the most, who is always gentle, can say the most heartbreaking words in this world. Seeing my silence, the teacher immediately took advantage of the opportunity. "Over the past 2 years, we have witnessed your deep feelings for Yen. We are very supportive and hope that you can come to a good outcome, just for the sake of our future. You know, the one who sacrifices is always us men. All the teachers praise you for being loyal, responsible, and responsible. Now is the time to prove it. From an objective perspective, I think who has a higher chance of getting into college, me or her?" Seeing my silence, the teacher continued, "The whole class knows that Lu Nuyen studies very well and will definitely go to an important university. The school also values her very much. If she had to make a rational choice, I believe that she would also choose to let Yen go to university. She is a responsible person, everyone knows this. Looking in the long run, even if Yen gets into university, her family will probably not support it. Her siblings are all married. With her own family, the burden is not small. This is the time when she, her boyfriend, plays a role. If she quits, she will not affect Nguyen's studies for a while, but with the encouragement of her teachers and friends, we believe that she will soon regain her spirit, and she will sacrifice her studies to earn money for her tuition. To put it bluntly, that is a great way to protect love. I am protecting Nguyen's future, protecting her from a higher angle. This action of yours is truly commendable. He said a lot, but I couldn't listen to it and couldn't remember it anymore. I fell into a deadlock choice. Before ending the conversation, I tried to muster up my courage and weakly asked the teacher, if I leave school and go home, can you reserve the right to take the university entrance exam for me? The teacher was overjoyed, as if this was what he had been waiting for a long time. He nodded repeatedly, of course, of course. But during this time, you are not allowed to contact Yen. We will take care of everything after that. We will tell Yen that you will go to work to earn money to pay for your studies. Believe me, I will help you keep Yen, just like that. The next day, I packed my things and left. Even though I know my mother will be the most heartbroken, once I have decided, I will not change. Besides, I have no other choice. Before leaving school, I went to the office to find the homeroom teacher to sign the out-of-school safety agreement. As I was about to reach the door, I heard happy laughter inside, an atmosphere as if something had been celebrated. Just as he was about to knock on the door, he suddenly heard a familiar voice, that of the politics teacher. That rare deep voice, no one can mishear it. I just heard her happily ask, really? Has he really quit? That's great. There's hope for the reward rate of getting into a major university this time. Another familiar voice rang out, don't worry, he has agreed with me. This time there will definitely be no problem, he will definitely rest. That's the history teacher. Hearing this, I froze, my heart was as cold as ice, I couldn't feel anything anymore. Another voice said, so will he take the university entrance exam? That's the literature teacher. His tone remained calm as always. The history teacher replied, let him take the exam, his performance is not bad, especially history is very good. If he didn't get entangled in loose affairs like Yen, I actually wouldn't be willing to let him leave. The politics teacher laughed coldly, forget it, with his politics score, it doesn't matter whether he takes the exam or not. The history teacher chuckled, don't say that, everyone has infinite potential. The politics teacher sneered, I believe that, everyone has infinite potential. But the prerequisite is to be human. Hearing this, I felt extremely angry. What did I do wrong? Why am I not human? I was about to rush into an argument, but at that moment I heard the voice of the math teacher. Is the teacher also present? He's the head of the academic department, so he should be in the office. Why did you run here to celebrate? The math teacher sighed. The two families don't hide anything from everyone. Since the two of them fell in love, Lu Nguyen's math scores have plummeted. There were 2 mock tests and he only got a little more than 7 points. During the professional team meeting, I didn't even dare to mention this. Now doing this is like sacrificing a pawn to preserve the general, cutting off a hand to save a life. The politics teacher interjected, sacrificing good soldiers, cutting off hands to save lives? I'll say it straight, if that kid gets into college, I'm willing to give this head to some people to cut into a chair, sit on it and play football. Finally, the homeroom teacher also spoke, stop talking, he's probably about to sign the papers by now. The politics teacher added, hurry, hurry, the sooner the better. Then there was a long silence. The atmosphere became confused. I stood outside and waited for a while before knocking on the door and entering. All the teachers were present, looking at me with regret. Everyone told me bland, innocuous blessings, but to me, those words were so fake that they were nauseating. I didn't stay even for a second. Leave in a hurry. My high school life has ended, 2.5 years of youth, at the age of 17, the most beautiful. From now on it has nothing to do with me anymore. When I got home, I just told my mother one short sentence: I quit school. After that, I rushed back to my room and burst into tears. Perhaps my mother heard my crying and partly guessed what had happened, so she didn't ask or blame me. But from that day on, every day that passed, she cried her eyes out. I know all my mother's hopes rest on me. Now that I've dropped out of school and come home, my mother's heart is definitely hurting like a knife, but there's no other way. In this life, I will never let my mother kneel down and beg anyone again. During the time before the university entrance exam, I almost locked myself in my room. Other than when I eat and shower, I don't go out. Mother became more and more desperate, her hair also became more gray. I could only look at my mother with heartache. My mother said that after I dropped out of school, my relatives also started making fun of me, saying that I had no future since I was young. My mother told me, it's okay not to study, but you have to be a person of character. I always remember that saying. It's almost time for the university entrance exam, and I set foot in my school again. Memories of pain, joy, and torment during those years suddenly came rushing back. They had been buried for so long, and now they seemed to be unlocked, flooding my mind. After the university entrance exam, I found out that my girlfriend was with Chu then. The ironic thing is that right before the exam day, she discovered that he was seeing another girl. In her grief, she drank alone and got so drunk that she missed her literature exam the next morning. As for Chu then, because he was hanging out with 2 girls at the same time, he couldn't concentrate on his studies and his performance dropped seriously. In addition, the night before the exam, the incident was revealed, making his mind confused, causing him to not finish the exam in time. Then the time to announce the results came. At 12 o'clock noon, the feeling of suspense is like waiting for a review to release a new story. I sat in front of the computer, hesitated for a long time without daring to click to see the results. It wasn't until my mother rushed into the room, her face beaming, shouting with excitement, "Son, you passed, you passed, you passed the university cutoff score." I was surprised, couldn't believe it. "What did you say?" My mother said that seeing me hesitate to watch, she secretly called the homeroom teacher to ask for my registration number and check my grades herself. Having said that, my mother rushed over and grabbed my hand, looked straight into my eyes, and repeated, "You passed, son, you really passed." Mother's voice trembled, tears of happiness rolled down her face. I closed my eyes. It's finally passed. Looking at my mother still immersed in endless joy, I suddenly realized that this moment was the most wonderful moment of my life. During the past few months of locking myself in my room, I spent all my time studying by myself. There is a test practice app on my phone. I do tests on it every day. Therefore, the fact that I passed university is not a random gift from God. My ex-girlfriend, because she missed literature, only had enough scores to get into a college. Her new boyfriend, also because he didn't do well on his exams, only passed college. After that, the 2 of them went nowhere. After going to college, Lu Nguyen sought me out many times to come back, but I refused them all. Just because in the most difficult days, when I fell to the bottom of the abyss, she was never by my side. She will never be able to understand me, just as I will never be able to fully understand her. Therefore, the best way is for each person to find their own happiness. Later, her sister texted me. "Even though I don't know what happened between the 2 of us, she really loves you. He locked himself in the bathroom for 3 days straight, crying and blaming himself, tormenting himself endlessly. However, I did not reply. The math teacher, who is also the head of the academic department, once called me, "Oh my, you really gave us a big surprise." Now, every time I give a speech in front of the entire 10th grade class, I use you as an example. I tell them to try to look up the 12th grade student from the previous class who had a classmate who tried to get good grades in high school, what his academic performance was like, but in the end, what happened? He just needed one breath to break through and pass the entrance exam. Studying, even getting into a top school. Before, I was a bit prejudiced against you, but now that I think about it, maybe it was just my subjectivity. Finally, I want to give you a sentence. King Khan is not determined. Anyone can be a black horse, and you are a true black horse. Besides the story about the author, there are many people who cannot understand or believe in the actions of the boy and girl in this story. They stand at the pinnacle of morality, using the mature thinking of an adult to judge the impetuosity of youth. Therefore, they feel that everything is ridiculous and difficult to accept, as if everyone in this world has to live a normal life in an order that they consider reasonable to be called normal. Many people also question the logic of the story, grades, teachers, and friends. Many times I tried to revise the story, rewriting it according to a logic that others could accept. Get it, but I can't do it, because this is a true story and I want to respect the truth and respect the reader. Even though the main character is not me, this story really happened in this world. Why did it happen? Why is it that way? Why isn't it better or worse? These things are not in my control. I am simply narrating it. I don't want to modify anything. Fiction needs logic, but reality does not. Because in reality, no one can edit the past. But no matter what, each person's story will continue, the world will continue to operate as usual. Thinking about it another way, perhaps the experiences that others don't believe are actually just systematic errors in this world. On the other hand, I feel like it's a good thing. Because there are many people who don't believe that there are such teachers and classmates in this world. That means they are living in an ideal environment, surrounded by people with genuine emotions. Like catching a goldfish living in a tank of warm, colorful water, having to imagine the fierce waves in the ocean of Bermuda. Everyone is stingy in gaining their tolerance, so there is no need to force them to sympathize with others. Those who always use harsh words to attack others online will also experience moments when they long to be understood by others. Only a few people, after going through events, learn to respect the pain of others and encourage them to move forward. Most of the good and warm things in life are created and preserved by such people. It's so easy to become an unwarranted attacker. Everyone knows how to curse. But using your own kindness and patience to support a stranger is really difficult.